Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. My name's Connor from 905 Review. You guys are checking out our series Give This a Spin, where I recommend you some of my favorite albums. Today we're looking at New York outfit Swans and their 1987 release, Children of God. Swans were one of the pivotal groups in New York's no-wave scene, being a polar opposite to the new wave that was popular at the time. If you think the upbeat, quirky sound of groups like the B-52s, the Police, Talking Heads, and so on. No wave, on the other hand, when talking groups like Swans or even Sonic Youth's first couple releases, was very brutal, abrasive, and didn't pay much attention to melody. But with 3 EPs, 4 studio albums, and a live album of this nature in the span of only 5 years, Swans ringleader Michael Gira opted to change up the group's sound to avoid being pigeonholed into one particular style. That change came with 1987's Children of God, but be forewarned, this release isn't exactly pro-religion. And on this release, Swans bring more of a gothic, post-punk nature to them. They still go hard, there's just more here than just going hard. You'll see what I mean on the opening track and lone single from the album, New Mind. The chaos is still there, it's just now manufactured into a more accessible sound. There's still plenty of rhythm as the drums bring that signature punch. The guitars bring a lot of edge and energy to them despite being slower paced, and the keyboards blaring out of the background are a great touch, all the while Michael Gira tries to put the fear of God in you. Softening up is the second track, In My Garden, with keyboardist Jarbo taking over lead vocals here. I'd say the tone of the guitar evokes this ominous feeling. However, there's also these bright piano notes alongside other background noise to simultaneously maintain this feeling of comfort. So for me, this makes for, I guess, an anxious atmosphere. Like, I feel like I should be at peace, and yet I'm unable to be. This is eventually all overtaken by a constant synth as we drift off. Following this, we seek salvation on the more acoustic Our Love Lies. And again, things here aren't exactly all as they seem. You have the singing of love, Jarbo's beautiful background vocals, the tenderness of the acoustic guitar. This all makes for a good hymn. However, the dark, descending electric guitar really throws off that mood, as if there's something we should be weary about here. And maybe what we were weary for is the fear that comes on the pummeling 4th track, Sex, God, Sex. I will pray. Throughout it, Gira is devoting himself to God, and while he feels he's done nothing wrong, he will be tortured eternally, torn apart and burned alive at the center of the earth, if it should so be, for having sex as he now feels impure, wrong, and sinful. I am hateful. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. Following this is another dark and brooding tune, Blood and Honey. And that's fitting considering Jarbo is singing about a body she has drowned and abandoned. However, now she's returning to collect it so she may plant it in the ground, lay with it herself, and just return the two of them to the earth. Darkly spiritual. And ending the first record, we have the bizarre Like a Drug, Shala La La. It's built on this repetitive crunching guitar alongside these horns that will just periodically chime in on their own, making for what I would describe as another anxiety-inducing song. And I would call this a great song if not for the sha-la-la-las, which I really think they could have done without. But kicking off the second disc now is the tender, acoustic You're Not Real Girl. And perhaps Michael has been deceived by this girl because she does not seem trustworthy or caring or even really there.
Nothing inside you is real. Nothing inside you is real.
And moving on to a more unsettling one here is Beautiful Child. It's put in motion by this constant thumping drum, and the religious aspects of the album are further perpetuated by Jarbo's brilliant keyboards and her choir-like vocals. Focusing on the negative aspects of religion here, if you haven't already picked up on that, we follow Michael Gira in his descent into madness as he considers murdering a child as his own sacrifice to God. Hardcore.
The child I could kill. The child, the beautiful child, the beautiful child.
And on a side note, it must have been even more uncomfortable to make this song because Gira later pointed out a co-producer of the album had literally just had a kid, and then here he is screaming like a madman about murdering one. On a lighter note, on the surface anyways, is Blackmail. We have Jarbo singing beautifully over this piano ballad, but then you realize she's telling you to devote yourself to her, to follow her blindly. And honestly, with a voice like that, I fear for some of you.
Say you'll do anything for me.
Following up with a similar theme, we have Trust Me, though this one bears a much more depressing sound, one that just pierces my heart. It's like on Blackmail, Jarbo is trying to manipulate you, and here they have Michael doing the same thing, only they make his, I guess, intentions a little more obvious with him having this intimidating tone in how he speaks, as well as the song occasionally just explodes with this force unlike it previously had. Slowing things back down, it's almost as if we're hearing from this blind, deceived follower on real love. And let me tell you, for a love so real, it honestly sounds dark and foreboding.
I am his only true love.
And it's really not love Michael sings of, rather coming across as worship when you're talking about kissing the ground where somebody once stood.
Take me down into the cold, dead earth. Take me down.
But that blind love comes into question on the next one, Blind Love. And this one feels to me as if it's from the perspective of a God that people are losing faith in, as Gira very lifelessly sings, or speaks actually, about being this unborn man who, needs people to need him, and in exchange he'll give you, I don't know, some sort of peace of mind or something.
I am unborn. Need my love.
It's a quiet and yet tense song, until Gira tells you to love him blindly, at which point all hell breaks loose.
Love.
After this, we hear what sounds like a lot of people suffering, which really can't be a good sign. And the song eventually eases its way out, though there's still the occasional random bang to be heard, as if to tell you the threat's never really gone. And ending on an incredibly high note now is the title track, Children of God. Here we have Jarbo harmonizing with this holier-than-thou approach that she was born in the sight of God, and so she is impenetrable. She cannot and will not suffer because she is perfect. Absolutely incredible song. I love her keyboards, her vocals, the percussion, even like down to the tiniest detail, the inclusion of the triangle, everything on this hits. Children of God is available on CD, cassette, and vinyl, but for the longest time, if you didn't get one upon its release or were lucky enough to find one elsewhere, you were out of luck because prior to 2020, no other editions of it ever got made. Well, not Children of God anyways. In 1997, they put out a compilation that also contained selections from the two albums Jira and Jarbo made together under the band name Skin. Me personally though, I'd rather get both those albums on their own entirely so that you have the full track lists of each. This compilation was released again in 2003 and 2010, though I believe only ever on CDs. So we are very thankful it was remastered and re-released, especially if you were cool enough to have gotten an autographed version. Reviews of this album varied greatly, though I feel over time, indie and artistic circles have really taken an appreciation to it. Children of God marks a great stylistic change for Swans, and I'd argue is one of the best ones ever pulled off. Furthermore, many artists have expressed their opinions on religion, whether that be for or against in music, and I would say few have done it as well conceptually as Swans manage here. I mean, they get right into the dirt and the filth of history on this thing. And despite the praise, I will be stamping Children of God with an A- grading. The second disc is incredible, ending on a legendary run of songs. However, the first disc I would call it rather hit or miss, though I do appreciate the role they play in the album. Those have been my thoughts on this release. Let me know yours. As always, I appreciate you tuning in. Maybe you'll tune into another. I'll see you around. Till next time. But real quick before we take off, what were your thoughts on Children of God? Did I rate it too high or did I rate it too low? You let me know down below, as well as any other thoughts, comments, remarks, suggestions you might have. And I'll see you in the next one. You take care, my friend.